Today's episode of the GoldCast is sponsored by the 49ers' first victory of the season. And we have a co-sponsor. All those San Francisco fans who put 0-16 tattoos on your back, you should be ashamed of yourselves. You should be absolutely ashamed of yourselves. I'm disappointed in you. Yeah, that's on Instagram and Facebook. Yeah, that's a thing.
Oh, God.
Yeah, Raymond's calling in via phone again today, folks. He's en route. He's traveling, but yeah, today's episode is sponsored by them. Unless, well, maybe their goal, and you never know, there might be listeners. We do have a lot of listeners. Maybe their goal, Ray. Maybe their goal. We're going to stay open-minded. Maybe their goal was to actually reverse jinx the 49ers in the most extreme way possible by showing their absolute true 49er faithfulism through a tattoo that's never going to go away. As the proud owner of 4 tattoos.
That or they're the stupidest fans I've ever seen.
Or the dumbest fans of all time.
But yes, as because I haven't seen them. I've just heard of this, so that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of.
So it's the emblem, and then underneath it just says 0-16. It's just the classic SF red emblem, and then underneath 0-16.
Ladies and gentlemen of the GoldCast audience, that is what I call a quitter. Those are quitters. If
Unless
they're not playing the reverse psychology game, which I highly doubt they are, then they are just quitters.
Boom. There it is. There it is. All right, we have a lot to get into, but before we get started, Raymond, why don't you let them know where they can find us?
You can find us on Facebook.com/TheGoldCast. You can also follow us on Twitter @TheGoldCast_. You can also follow us on Instagram @TheGoldCast. You can also subscribe to us via iTunes, YouTube, and Stitcher, all under the same moniker of The GoldCast. Subscribe, leave comments, leave reviews, do the right thing.
GoldCast, blah. Here we go. This episode is dedicated to the first victory on a Sunday that we've had in, I don't know, over a year, maybe 2 years. It's been a while. I don't keep track of that kind of stuff. Here we go. GoldCast, let's get busy.
San Francisco, are you ready? This is the GoldCast.
Boom! Boom, 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 boom. Welcome to another edition of the GoldCast. We are the voice of the faithful. I'm your host, Rudy Solis III, and with me is my brother, my co-host,
Raymond Solis Bros, baby.
Boom. It's in. Finally. We're done. We have finally broken the losing streak for the 2017 season. Bay Area. Oh, my stars and stripes. Heavens to Betsy. We finally did it. Ray, the 49ers are no longer witless. We have dodged going 0-16. I still can't believe those guys put tattoos on their bodies. It said 0-16. Again, if you're one of those people and you're listening to the GoldCast, I want to talk to you. I want you on the GoldCast. So if you're out there and you actually, I do. I want to talk to him. I want you to go on the GoldCast. I want to talk to you. If you're a friend of somebody who has that tattoo, tell them Rudy Solis III, the co-host of the GoldCast, would like to talk to them on the GoldCast about their 0-16 tattoos. I swear to God, that better have been a reverse jingle. Jinx. Reverse jingle. That better have been a reverse jingle. You better jingled your way all the way to our victory. Raymond, final score. I'm happy to say the 49ers did cover. Thank heavens they covered. They've actually covered a lot. Final score was 31-21. You really would have thought that the 49ers had won the Super Bowl with how intensely they celebrated. There was cheering. There was, I don't know if it was champagne, but they were pouring something all over themselves in the locker rooms. Let's just bask in the glory for 1 second about the 49ers' big win. Tell me how you feel.
Well, I feel relieved. I kind of felt like destiny was calling up the Niners' number in regards to this Giants game, because Giants are up. You know, they're just as bad as, say, like the Cardinals, but we just couldn't seem to get past the Cardinals twice this year. It's just luck. You know, we didn't have Joe Staley last week. We had Joe Staley this week. You know, we haven't been 100% the last few weeks, but this week we got a couple guys back. We also signed some decent players to fill in the roster from the street. Guys haven't played in forever, so it's amazing patchwork that John Lynch has been able to do. But the thing that really stuck out to me was two things. A, pass protection, and B, third down conversions. Those were the two things that stood out to me that really kind of helped sustain offensive drives and sustain, more explosive plays, was just adequate blocking and pass protection. And that's something we haven't really seen. That's really been kind of inconsistent all year long. A lot of 3 and outs, a lot of like 1 for 15 on third down conversion. This week was like 8 for 12, I think. That's 75% conversion rate. That's the type of, percentage that's going to sustain drives, keep your defense fresh, and put yourself in the scoring position, which is exactly what we did. And as a result, we had 3 really big explosive plays today. The pass to Marquise Goodwin, the 83-yard pass, the 47-yard pass to Garrett Selleck, and the huge explosive run by Matt Breida. Those plays were amazing. I haven't seen a whole lot of that this year, and I think a big credit to that is the offensive line, being able to give C.J. Beathard time to make throws, and in another case, make the right blocks to help our running backs get to the second and third level. And that, to me, is what really stood out to me. So I give full credit to the offensive line this year. I also give credit to the tight ends and the running back. Carlos Hyde stepped up in his blocking. Garrett Selleck stepped up in his blocking. In fact, those are the 2 individuals that plugged up the all-out blitz down the middle on C.J. Beathard that gave him enough time to throw the bomb to Marquise Goodwin. That was an amazing, amazing play. Frank Gore used to be the staple. He's excellent at run blocking when he's not taking the rock. So to see Carlos Hyde and Garrett Selleck step up in a big-time play like that and allow that play to materialize is just huge. So it was exciting. As a Niner fan, it was awesome. It did feel really big. It felt like a huge win. It felt appropriate to dump Gatorade on Mike Shanahan's head. Despite all of the dismal, injuries that have happened this year and the unfortunate, 1-2 plays away from winning the games during the 5-game losing streak of 3 points or less, Kyle Shanahan has maintained the message and the culture within the locker room that everybody seems to be voicing. I heard them all on a lot of the post-game press conferences today between Garrett Selleck, Joe Staley, C.J. Beathard. They all kind of, more Staley and Selleck, they kind of preach to us like, dude, like, we have an amazing culture that just says, keep your head up, just keep going. Amazing quote from Garrett Selleck. Kyle Shanahan told him, he said, tough times don't last long, but tough people do. That's a great quote.
Wow.
From the head coach. I love that one. Isn't that one awesome? I thought that was a great
awesome.
line. I was like, dang, that's a powerful one. That's really, and that's so true. Tough times don't last forever, but tough people do, or tough players do.
Wow.
That was a great line. So yeah, that was the key to me. Offensive line led to third down conversions and explosive plays, which woke up the offense.
It was great to see. It was really great to see. It was so gratifying. It was so satisfying. Finally, GoldCast Nation, finally, we have a victory. Finally, we best the beast. And I think it's really important. I think this is really important. It's a turning of the tide. This team rarely, we had a little bit of a slump in the middle, but rarely have they given up. We lost 5 games by 3 points or less in the last 2 minutes. Do you realize how many wins we really could have right now? We could have 6 wins right now. That's where we could be. This team has lost by the slimmest.
6-2 easily.
Easily. We've lost by the slimmest of margins. The slimmest of margins, mostly based on inexperience, too many penalties, and just, again, a team that's trying to learn an entirely new system. I said this before. In 2020, when we're all sitting back and the 49ers have the most prolific offense in the entire league and we're staring down the possibility of going to another Super Bowl, we're going to look back on this year with no fondness, but we're going to feel the distance of it like it was a million years ago and just 20 minutes ago. And in 2 more years, when we're back on top, this is going to feel like it was only 30 seconds ago. It's only going to be like 30 seconds from now. We're going to be there. So, like I've been saying all year, everybody has to stay faithful. 49er faithful. We are the faithful for a reason. Stay faithful. And you have, and boom, we did it. Ray, I'd also like to mention in a small way my contribution to this victory, if you don't mind.
Go for it. We all contribute.
Everyone has contributed to this victory.
Yeah.
Well, so pretty much my entire season of fantasy, I always have left the winning points on the bench. It's like I'm always off by every other week. And I began to realize about 3 weeks ago that my fantasy football team was a voodoo doll. It was a voodoo doll. It was like if you wanted your quarterback, also all my starters almost consistently lost their quarterbacks, including my own quarterback. I lost Aaron Rodgers. So if you wanted your quarterbacks to die, if you were like, I told people, if you have someone from a rival team that you would like to have die, then trade with me. I'll start any of his wide receivers or running backs, and then his quarterback will inevitably become injured. I had Stephon Diggs, I had Amari Cooper, I had Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I'm just a quarterback killing machine. Now, having said that, I realized about 3 weeks ago that my fantasy team wasn't really a fantasy team. It was a portal to a voodoo doll. It was actually like a voodoo doll. It was an online voodoo doll. Probably arguably the world's first online recorded voodoo doll. So, Raymond, because my bench always seems to generate the most points while the players on the field that are starting for my fantasy team always end up getting their quarterbacks killed, I decided to reverse jinx my voodoo doll. And I put CJ Beathard on the bench for my fantasy football team for the last 3 weeks. And he finally did it. He outballed Dak Prescott. It flipped, and I left the winning points again on the bench. Had I started CJ Beathard, I would have won. But it's okay because we won the game because my fantasy voodoo doll saved the day. And I just want to tell everyone you're welcome.
That's how you do reverse psychology, people. It's not a tattoo of 0-16 on your back.
No, it's making your voodoo doll, your mystical, magical fantasy voodoo doll work for you by putting CJ Beathard on the bench, and you have your other starter in there because all season, whoever's on your bench is going to outscore your starter. So I put CJ Beathard in there to back up Dak Prescott, and what did he do? 24 points in my league, and he wins the game. That's called faithful, Ray. That is called 49er faithful. That's how we do. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you. I just wanted to give my small contribution to this victory. It wasn't a lot, but unfortunately, there are no stats to account for mystical fantasy football voodoo dolls. Unfortunately, that isn't a stat that we've created yet. I would like to propose that maybe that's something we should create going forward, seeing as my fantasy football team actually is a true blue online voodoo doll. So you're welcome, GoldCast Nation. You're welcome, 49er faithful. I don't take full credit for the game. Obviously, it's a 52-man roster. There's 11 guys on both sides of the ball trying to make that thing happen. Special teams, Coach Shanahan, John Lynch. But I do want to say that I appreciate all of the acknowledgments and accolades, and we're going to keep fighting. And I'm going to keep putting 49ers players on that voodoo doll bench, and we're just going to do the best we can, one game at a time. We've got a bye coming up, and we'll see you after the break. Thank you very much. I'm Rudy Solis, GoldCast. That was my press conference sign off. That was it. How'd I do?
Oh, nice. That's terrific.
Thank you. Yeah, pretty awesome game. I thought CJ Beathard was fantastic, winning both in the air and with his own legs. Again, I am the ultimate apologist for CJ Beathard. I actually think he's pretty damn good for a rook. I think he's just been in a really tough situation. Similar to what we've said several times in the last couple of years. Not a bad quarterback, just a really bad offensive line. But as you mentioned, the offensive line was able to string together blocks to protect their quarterbacks and the quarterback, and that's what made the difference. If you have an offensive line, you can practically do anything. You can have an offensive line will make a bad quarterback average, an average quarterback good, a good quarterback great, a great quarterback a Hall of Famer. That's just the way it is. The offensive line, it is the centerpiece. It is the heartbeat of football. The offensive line, the defensive line, that is where the game is won. Your ability to control that area makes it or breaks it.
I know John Lynch gave Kyle Shanahan I know John Lynch gave Kyle Shanahan the game ball, for all of his work and diligence, because obviously it's his job to keep the team together. He's been excellent in keeping the morale. That was evident in the post-game press conferences by some of the players and Garrett Selleck and Joe Staley. But for me, I really think the game ball needs to go to the offensive line that really kind of pulled it together for, probably their best game of the season. Obviously, it resulted in a W. So if this momentum is, an indication of, things swinging in the right direction, which I hope it is, in terms of the team kind of getting better consistency out of the offense, then to me, I think the offensive line deserves all the credit, for really kind of helping the offense kind of manufacture what Kyle Shanahan's been implementing this whole season in his system. So to me, that's where the hats go off. The protection was there, the blocking was there, and the results obviously led to explosive plays and a huge W over a team that, that is obviously struggling in a lot of ways too, but only one, victor can come out of these games every Sunday, and the Niners, proved to be the better team, in all facets of the game. So, and it starts with the offensive line for me. So that's where I think the game ball should go to. Although Kyle's very deserving of it too.
Let me ask you a question, Raymond. Here's kind of more of a looking towards the future kind of question. Who do you think should start if the line continues to pull itself together? Should we put Jimmy Garoppolo in, they were saying maybe as early as week 12? Or if the line continues to gel, do we just keep CJ Beathard in there and kind of, quote-unquote, protect Jimmy Garoppolo until next year? What do you think is the best move for the 49ers? I feel like that's a tough question. I don't know the answer.
It is tough if the offensive line plays well, and because obviously when the line plays well, CJ's going to play well, and any quarterback's going to play well when you give him time. I mean, that was very evident. CJ's big thing coming out of college was his ability to anticipate where the ball is going to be relative to the receiver's route, and we saw that today. He hit Marquise Goodwin in stride. He hit Garrett Selleck in stride. He threaded a couple other balls to other players in stride. So a lot of well-thrown balls today by CJ Beathard. I know there was the one pick, but this was the first game, and he's thrown a pick every single game so far, I believe. And that's something that can obviously, we want to see it cleaned up, but it's something that you can kind of forgive because he's a rookie and because of the circumstances he's in. At the same time, when he's got time, look how the ratio is swinging the other direction, where he's got more touchdowns than interceptions. He's got, almost 300 yards, I think they got almost 400 yards of total offense. They had well over 150 in rushing yards, between Hyde, Breida, and the other contributors. So, when the offensive line plays well, that allows so many other things to happen, in terms of scheme and play calling. You can do a lot more and keep defenses on their toes, and especially with that pass protection, picking up those blitzes is huge. But going back to your question, I think, Kyle Shanahan said he has no plan. So, and I think that's the right move, because if you're building momentum around CJ right now and you're just trying to get your system going, I think there is no rush to bring Garoppolo in there. I think, and give him time to keep studying the book. He's going to have a bye week. So by the time they come back to Seattle, he'll have been with us for at least a month. So does that mean he needs to come out in Seattle and play? I don't know. So Kyle Shanahan didn't necessarily confirm that. He didn't necessarily deny that either. He just said there's no plan. And I think Kyle is similar in Jim Harbaugh, where he's going to go with the hot hand. And I think if CJ continues to play well, and I think I'm pretty sure CJ is going to play against Seattle after the bye week. That's what I predict. Even though I know that people are saying, oh, that's a really good time when Garoppolo should get in there. Look, you got this guy for a draft pick, that you didn't even have to pay for. It was another draft pick you got in giving up the second position last year to Chicago. So you had a free pick to play with, and you got a quarterback who's potentially a franchise quarterback. And this is something that I think they should ease him into, just because you're still in a rebuilding phase and you want to make sure that the right pieces are in place to help Jimmy be successful. Otherwise, he's going to have the same struggles that everybody else has had behind that line. So I think you build off this momentum, see what else CJ can do, and then you decide whether, Jimmy needs to go in or not. And I think you do that on a week-to-week basis. I don't think you should plan for that to happen in Seattle. I don't think you should plan for it to happen after the Seattle game. I think it should be week to week. I predict that CJ will be in there, and that we'll see Jimmy maybe in like the last 3 to 4 games of the season.
Boom, there it is. Well, Raymond, I do have to admit, your voice sounds so crystal clear now than it did before. That's the power of podcast editing, to go from your phone to your mic within an instant, even though maybe hours have passed between those 2 moments. Well done, sir. You sound magic. The magic of podcasting. I agree, man, 100%. This is just awesome. This is an awesome feeling. I saw the video watching the 49ers celebrate in the locker room. What a tremendous feeling. We did believe that the 49ers were going to win. We did say that last week. Then again, we believe the 49ers are going to win every week because we are the 49er faithful. It's what we do. Here we go. 1 win. That is why you either don't put a tattoo of 0-16 or you put a tattoo of 0-16 with the intended purpose of them winning the very week you do it. If that was your goal, then hats off to you. And again, I want to speak to you. Now, Raymond, before we go, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at RaySolis1. You can also find me on Twitter at RaySolis, RaySolis.
Boom. You can find me at Rudy Solis III, at Rudy Solis 3RD. So concludes another edition of the GoldCast. We are the voice of the faithful. I'm your host, Rudy Solis III, and with me is my brother, my co-host,
Raymond Solis the first, baby.
Boom. We'll see you next time. Same GoldCast time, same GoldCast channel. Go Niners!
We gotta win.
This is the GoldCast.